Hello everyone, May 20th, Monday, and I'll just record again in the spirit of, I guess, commenting on news. I'll just record a little bit of something and go from there. I want to specifically call out on George Gammon, amazing guy, about something he said. Let's watch what he said at 1.5% speed and then comment on it. I disagree with him, so let me present why and how.
A grouping, a gathering, an aggregate of what all these CEOs are saying. It's actually a really, really good story. I'm hard on the mainstream media quite often, but this is really some good financial reporting. But before we get over there, let's look at Shadow Stats. Now, most of you know Shadow Stats, but for those of you who don't, this is a fantastic website. But they track inflation using several different methodologies. And one of the methodologies that I really like is they just simply look at the way inflation was measured in the 1970s or 1980, and then they just measure it the exact same way today, and they say, how is it different? So right here with this chart, you can see the red line is what the mainstream media, not just the mainstream media, but what the government, their official numbers are, the headline CPI that we hear year over year. And as most of you know, it's about 3.45%. But if you measured inflation today, the same way that we did in 1980, we, not just the tinfoil hatters, not just zero hedge, no, not 4%. The inflation rate would be, looks like chat about the whole other topic of discussion, we would say 12%. Economy is doing more sensitive. If you take the...
All right. So from Super Stonk, from GameStop community, we have looked at this graph and their opinion, which I have insufficient data to have my own opinion on this, but the opinion of GameStop or an opinion expressed in GameStop community was that this graph doesn't make any sense. And what George Gammon here did was he believed this graph. He looks at this graph and he mentions that Shadow Stats uses more than one method of computing their data. But I think that's just as far as he went. And the argument against this graph was that, okay, so before 1980s, it was exactly the same as the government released numbers, and then afterwards is just plus 9%, and that's the only difference. So if you look at the blue and the red line, they are so very similar. Sure, one of them is higher up on top of each other, but if you look at how correlated they are, how similarly they behave, it's the same line. In fact, if you're looking at this thinking that the blue line has somehow a different methodology from the red line. What different methodology? What's the difference? I just measured, and over here the distance between the lines is like 94 pixels, and here it's like also 94 pixels, and here it's 94 pixels, more or less, a little bit less. And over here it was like 60 pixels over here, 75. Okay, so it gradually diverges. But I don't see a different methodology. I don't see a difference between the two lines. So when you're saying, oh, Shadow Stats provides good information about real inflation because it it allows you accurate comparison of what would have the numbers before 1980s and the numbers after 1980s by using the same methodology. I don't see it. I don't see the difference between the lines. It doesn't look like a different methodology. Before the divergence, the lines were the same. You can in fact see that red line is present at this little point. So it was exactly the same before, and it's also exactly the same after. It's exactly the same, just shifted up. Not a different methodology, not a different set of data. And if you look at how did they come up with this number, I hope it wasn't just, oh, push it up by 9%, because you look at the, again, there is no new data, there is no new methodology. They just pushed it up couple percent and claim that that is the truth. And George Gammon not fell for it, but just now he said, oh, look at this data. We all know in 2024 these days that everybody lies and there is not a single reliable source of information. Statistics are made up. Academic publishing is blatantly inaccurate. They just they first decide what they want to convince the audience in, and then they write an academic article about it. It doesn't even need to be peer reviewed to be used by the government to dictate policy such as mandates. So academic writing is unreliable, and you have to actually look at what they're doing to see, are they making any sense with their data, because most of them don't. And of course, mainstream media is unreliable. Shadow stats, somebody can present what they actually did with the numbers, how they actually came up with it, other than just shift it up, then please enlighten me. Otherwise, just looking at this, I don't see a difference in methodology. I don't see a difference in numbers. And it is shadow stats. This graph is not a reliable opinion on anything, and it is not founded on anything. So I disagree with George Gammon on this one. Okay, now that we got this out of the way, to fill some time, let me just talk about some other news that are important.
The exact same way the government.
Okay, I will get back to watching that later. I just want to say, unfortunately, Iran's president had been killed. Two people there, the president and a very high-ranking religious leader, were killed somehow by means of a helicopter. And that is important because we have an escalated and escalating conflict in the Middle East. We have Israel versus Hamas. Iran is active on the side of Hamas. So this is a part of the global war developments going on. And this is very concerning because these two deaths, are an escalation, and that may cause further escalation. So we are moving towards weaponization and militarization of the world today. So let's see what other news I can share real quick. I'll disclose a little in this news recap. I'm not gonna focus on stocks too much, and none of this is investing advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. I had a talk with a friend where we were talking. Actually, George Gammon has already also mentioned it, how DGT is a money-losing social network that is not a good investment according to him. And I said, oh, even worthless stock can go up for a while. And I issued in one of my private channels a recommendation to not short. So I guess the recommendation is hold. Not short is the recommendation specifically. And that was at that time, that was last month it seems. Looking at DGT right now, and I apologize for using Google Finance, but anyways, neither TD Ameritrade nor Schwab give a pretty picture on their platform of this stock, this specific stock. They don't like this stock to the point of not disclosing information about it. If you attempt to have a graph of DGT on TD Ameritrade or the Descendants platform by Schwab, it's nothing there. They don't show it. Not sure if that's legal, not sure if that amounts to market manipulation. But anyways, DGT is not going down. In fact, it's going up. I'm not saying buy. I'm not providing advice, but it's not going down, and I wanted to note that is despite their cash burn. Let's see what else I can share. I guess while we are on Trump topic, I have this screenshot from uh, this month, from it seems 2 weeks ago, where it says judge finds Trump violated gag order again. And I just want to comment how nonsensical the gag orders are. We are free to express ourselves, we have the freedom of speech, supposedly, and yet judges are free to tell people to shut up, and that's legal. That does not make sense to me. I don't see how. Well, to me, that violates the freedom of speech idea. Uh, what's a gag order? Just shut up? Um, how is that legal? How is everybody not revolted and repulsed by the idea that the judicial system shuts up anybody they want? And it is common knowledge that the judicial system will not only tell you to shut up, it will also tell you that it's illegal for you to discuss that you've been told to shut up. Pretty meta. And so when they say, oh, it's a problem that the people's trust in the institutions and the government is eroding, well, for a reason. How is the judicial on my side if it just prevents flow of information? So, and the idea that all the newspapers are like, oh yeah, this is how it should be. Here, Trump is guilty, and they're judging Trump in this title by saying he violated an order again. So violated is not a positive connotation. All of this paints Trump in a negative light, but let's remind ourselves who is against freedom of speech, who is against basic freedom in this title, and that is the American judicial system. Let's see what else I can share real quick. I have this political cartoon. This is old news. I see it as, my timestamp on this is March 28th. That's 2 months ago. You see a cartoon of the Baltimore Key Bridge collapse. I think that bridge was called Key Bridge. I apologize if I got that wrong. And here we see the bridge is a representation of America, and the barge that ran into it says lies, war, inflation, crime, debt, open borders, climate change, and green energy, all of those contributing to the chaos that led to the disaster, driven by Biden, who appears to be the dude taking a quick break on the bank, on the shore. Nice cartoon, I liked it. Let's see what else I can share. And I guess for this episode, let's keep it short and sweet, and I'll just share a Wikipedia image on health, how we are combating the misfortunes brought to us by policy and so forth. And this here says that the pillars of health, personal individual health, and the pillars of a good lifestyle would be healthy diet, exercise, healthy sleep, healthy social interactions, lack of addictions, and stress management. So once again, I'll read what it actually says. 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine from top clockwise: healthy eating, exercise, restorative sleep, positive social connections, minimizing risky substances, and stress management. All of those would be necessary for good in personal health. I agree with this. uh, there is a lot to be said about how to keep your health in the environment that we live in. Healthy eating is super important. Avoid sugars, avoid processed grains, avoid cheap vegetable oils. Stress is a health risk, I agree. Exercise is required for good health. Sleep, I never had, well, I'll skip this one. Minimizing risky substances, like to see that there. So absence of something is an actively managed task for me. So combating addictions, including addiction to information, is a very valid concern. Social interactions is a health issue. I agree with that. So on that note, not everything is negative. Some things are positive. We can take our own success in our own hands, and we can uh, increase our own, each of our own individual health by uh, making good decisions and following good personal actions, such as eating well and having good, healthy social interactions, aka not being alone all the time. That sucks. Anyways, on that note, I bid you farewell and see you all in the next one.